Yo, what's going on, world? What's going on? Welcome to another episode of D's Let's Talk, Double D's Let's Talk About It. We are
What's
your
up?
hosts, Damien and D of D's Corner. We like to thank you for tuning in and tapping in with us this morning. What's going on with you this morning, D? How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good, brother. What's going on? What's up, everybody?
What's up, everybody? Just man, I want to touch on this before we get into any sports related. First, we want to give the condolences to those who lost in the tragic events this morning in Maryland and Baltimore with the bridge situation. We just was talking about it off air, man, and I had a little video I want to show, not of the collapse because I have a problem with those bridges in the first place, but I just want to analyze as we were going into discussion with what actually caused this and how did it happen. But I got a video I want to bring up for everybody. And I'm gonna show you. I want everybody to take a look at this who hasn't seen the container ship. My wife had told me about it this morning. She said it was a barge, and then I'm looking at the container, and I'm trying to figure out. It's a question I asked you offline, D, and I'm gonna let you touch in on this. I'm looking at that bridge, and I'm trying to look at the design of the bridge, and I'm looking at the two pillars over to the far right on the right side of the ship, and it don't look like there was nowhere in hell that ship was gonna go up under there. So who and how in the hell did this happen?
What was you
I don't know
thinking?
how it works. Yeah, I don't know how it works. I know when you talk about planes and stuff like that, you got air traffic control, and I'm pretty sure there's something like that when you're talking about the systems that they have set up to guide ships and stuff through. I see there's a ship all far off in the corner there, so
Yeah,
um, it doesn't look like that ship could fit up under that bridge. I don't know, man, but you got any opinions on this? Because this is somebody's going to be in big trouble for
big
this
trouble.
happening. Big
Big
trouble. The
trouble.
captain,
That
whoever's
whatever.
responsible.
Yeah, that company finna get sued and everything.
Yeah.
What was
I mean,
what was you thinking? Can you imagine? Like, I don't want to make first off,
light of it.
like
Yeah,
you said,
the lives are
condolences and
lost.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to make light of that with people losing their life and anything. Like, just imagine being a supervisor, you get a call, one of your ships done hit a bridge. Like, how?
Yeah.
This can't be the first. This cannot be the first ship that has transported whatever is transporting in and out of Baltimore.
It isn't. It's a
Like,
harbor town.
what were you thinking? That's what I'm saying. Like, what were you thinking? That's not like being in a car and backing up and thinking you got it and like hitting a fence or something or a mailbox. Like,
Yeah.
you hit an entire bridge.
Yeah.
Imagine if it was like rush hour traffic or something. If it was like traffic at a
Oh my
standstill.
gosh. Yeah, I think it happened at like 3 a.m. I'm not for sure. So I don't want to give incorrect
Mm,
information, but I think that's possibly. But I'm looking at the bridge and it may have been big enough for them to fit through. But I see they have these little you probably can't see it, but if you look in the water where the collapsed bridge, there's these little concrete kind of paddles coming up out of the water. Some of that stuff is like protections and stuff to help to cautionary kind of things. I just don't understand how that. I don't see how that happened because, and then the fact that it collapsed the whole bridge, it hit one pillar. But now seeing the size of the ship, I can see why. I was trying to figure out. Okay, my wife's saying it was a barge. I'm like, how did a barge hit one pillar and collapse the whole bridge? That sounds like an infrastructure problem. But then you see the
right.
size of the ship and you're like, okay, I get how it knocked the whole bridge down because it don't take, but yeah, something that size. You're talking about those are shipping containers. That's they
Right.
going to the dockyards, man. I mean, you got everything. That thing is carrying everything from goods, from food goods to cars. You don't know what's in those containers.
Don't know
Probably
what's in
dope,
it.
you know. And I'm only giggling about that part. Like I said, there were lives lost in this situation, and once again, condolences and prayers go out to the families um, of those who are lost, those who are affected, even the families of the people on the ship. Because you
Right.
got ship workers who work on that ship who weren't pilot, guiding a pilot and a crew, the captain, any of that. Even them, because you don't know what their mentality is right now with this happening, where their mind is.
That's
But
traumatizing, man.
yeah, it's traumatizing all the way around, for the city, everything. And once again, just condolences to the family. But
Yeah.
we're gonna move on, and it's another story. This was the story that kind of has surpassed the big story from yesterday. Um, the big story from yesterday was your boy, your bad boy, being a bad boy,
Not my boy. Ain't my
Mister
boy.
Mister Diddy doing his Diddy bop, and it looks like the end of the road may be on its way. Um, as I'm trying to set this video up here, brother, give me 1 second as we talk about it here. Um,
You good?
as if you my age, I mean, I'm 45, but being my age, and then you look at this situation like this, and you kind of look at it as it was bound to happen. You knew it was coming eventually. Let's put it that way, because there's been so many different rumors here, or situations there that is called, that we've all discussed about this here. And this is just some video footage of what's happening in his LA homes being raided and his Miami home. Apparently his plane is grounded in Antigua, I believe. Um, but man, there's always been some suspect questions about situations involving Sean Combs, going back to the Biggie situation in '97, a little bit before that. uh his family ties, right? His pops, his pops is right. Yeah, his pops worked
Who's
for
that?
his pops was involved with Nicky Barnes and Frank Lucas, stuff like that.
Oh,
uh
okay.
Diddy's daddy was a little bit of a gangster. So you never
Right.
know. And I'm not making any speculations, and I'm not making any accusations, even in this situation. I'm just saying allegedly we've heard stories, and we've over the last 20 plus years of that situation, and what he's been involved with, attached to different celebrities, entertainers, stuff like that. But this is something to keep an eye on, because this here is going to be bigger than anything R. Kelly. You know what I mean? Because they
I,
that the essay the essay accusations that's been behind him about whether it's attached to grape or anything like that, or any kind of trafficking kind of things. That's no play right there. So people don't play about that stuff. Um, with the right folks. Let's put it that way, because you
right.
you got higher ups above him that's still walking around, and those accusations ain't never stuck. But I ain't gonna get into making a bunch of alleged and accusations. But man, let's get into the day's sports. Unless you had anything you want to add on with the Diddy situation.
Bro, I don't understand these people, man. Like you have really the world at your fingertips, realistically.
Hmm.
Like there's nothing that you can't go and buy. What the hell make you feel like you gotta own people?
That's the thing, bro. I'll
Like I
be
don't
honest
get it.
with you. I don't get it either, but I understand the nature of the mind in that situation. What you just said, you got all that money. With money comes this collective power. This collective power, you feel like you can do anything. So all money does is basically accentuate the negatives and the positives in the person's personality and who they really are.
Yeah, I'm
You
about to say,
know?
I feel like it make you either a better you or a worse you. Whatever you
Yeah.
are, it
Hmm.
enhances what you are.
Yeah.
But
It is. It's
that's
gonna
just
show your true colors, man. And it is. I mean,
that's just crazy.
wealthy people, it seems like a lot of times wealthy people get bored and they just and they it divulge in stuff that and like I said, I ain't getting into the accusations and all that uh
The rump chasing.
speculations, yeah, and all of that stuff, man, because Diddy's, just to be honest with you, if that's true, and those things are going on, that's tip of the iceberg, man. Like I
Oh yeah.
said, the entertainment industry, the business industries, sports and like I said, sports and entertainment, all of that world, man. We don't know what these billionaires do. These
It,
billionaires, they want to, owning people is just something that is a hobby. They go
which is
overseas to do this
crazy.
stuff. Yeah,
That's crazy. That's
I
just,
mean,
that's like have you seen the Quiet on Set?
no,
Have you
I
seen that
haven't.
It's a Nickelodeon documentary,
Oh, I heard about it though. Yeah, I
bro.
heard
It's
about it.
it's it's crazy. It's like,
Yeah,
and like I don't I'm married, we got
yeah,
kids and stuff, and like my
yeah.
youngest are twins. And people be
Mhm,
like, man, your kids are so funny, man. You should do a YouTube for them or this and that. They'll make
mhm,
y'all X, Y, and Z. But that's not my
mhm,
kid's job. My kid's job is not to make our family money. That, you know what I'm saying? That's my
mhm,
job. Like
mhm.
I'm not exploiting my kids to, or exposing my kids or exploiting them to those types of things. You got to check that documentary out, bro. It's crazy because
Okay. Yeah.
I was big when I was growing up watching all
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Drake and I watched Drake and
Drake and
Josh.
Josh. Yeah.
Um, I mean, some of the all that characters or cast members
Mhm.
that they interview, like I was like with the original guy, like Keenan, Kel, all them
Yeah.
guys. But like
Yeah.
you see the stuff that go on, bro, and then like when you realize I think the dude name was Dan
Yeah. Yeah.
Schneider or something like that.
Is he like a
Um,
heavy set guy?
the heavy set dude, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
But
remember him.
like I guess, go ahead.
Yeah, I said I remember him from some previous shows. Like when I was coming up, it was a show called Head of the Class, and it starred him. I know Robin
It's on
Givens
there.
played in it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember him from that show. So when I saw him, I was like, oh yeah, 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 I know that guy from
But
that show. And
some of the
yeah,
stuff he used to do,
yeah. I mean, I'm
like,
pretty sure it goes back further than him, though. It's
yeah,
just
yeah,
them people coming out when you talking about because a lot of these child actors and stuff, entertainers, man, they got a lot of stories, and you can tell who
yeah,
comes in, and then when they change, and you start seeing a whole bunch of rebellion or uh they out there wilding and stuff in the streets. A lot of that stuff is sort of like when kids react when stuff is going on. When we hear them stories of the toddlers and younger, and they
yeah,
have these outbursts, and you trying to figure out why, and you found out it may have been something where they have been essayed, you know, essayed by either a family member or someone, and
hmm,
those situations. It's no different with adults, man, because we look at the body of a grown person, but their mind,
right.
and especially when they come in it as a teenager or something, and these things have come into effect, and those things have happened, man. It's just wild, I don't really know what to say about this stuff because I mean, we really could say it's really about how a society chooses to handle it because a society actually cultivates it a lot of
And
times.
a lot of the stuff was on the parents, in my opinion. Like I'm
Yeah,
not saying like
yeah.
I don't condone by any means what harming a child in any light, harming
No,
a child or
no.
woman in any light like that, bro. And
Mhm,
like I worked before I was in the military, bro. I worked in the prisons and stuff. So I mean, you see and hear about some of the stuff that go down in there, and
yeah,
like it's a in there you don't tell. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't speak
yeah,
up, you don't say nothing, anything like that. But
yeah.
like, and I just think, man, like how I was as a kid, how I was raised, like how my parents had us. I didn't grow up
Mhm,
in the best like of areas, but like
mhm,
I knew like as an adult, you're not supposed to be touching me, you're not supposed to be talking to
mhm,
me. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do we have
mhm,
in common? You're a grown person. There's no reason for
mhm,
us to be hanging out. You know what I'm saying? So like
mhm,
my dad didn't play stuff like that. So like I always watched people around me, people around my little sister. Now I'm like that as a
mhm,
kid. I mean, I'm like that as an adult with my kids and my
mhm,
wife. Like I have my kids, like y'all don't be going up and hugging all these grown folks. First of all,
mhm,
grown folks, I know you know what I'm saying, because with coaching and stuff like that,
mhm,
you're gonna interact. Like I hug some of my
mhm,
players, you know what I'm saying, because I coach when
mhm,
I see them. But I couldn't imagine like doing anything to, like I don't know, like I don't
mhm,
understand how like your mindset works like that. Like they were showing clips and like the dude Dan, they were showing like he got his big break off of that show you was talking about.
mhm.
What he said, head of the class.
Head of the class, yeah.
So that's kind of where he got his break or whatever. And then he
Mhm,
started producing like all these shows. So like
mhm,
as a kid, some of the stuff like I said, I was mainly with the original guys. So I didn't see
mhm.
like the original all that cast. So I didn't see
Yeah,
some of these things because I phased out of it. I became a teenager
yeah.
and was worried
Mhm.
about other things.
Yeah.
So so like TV wasn't I care less about
Yeah,
TV now. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So
Yeah, I got you.
but like he would do things and like they would like portray like they blocked it out, so I don't really know if I can say it or not. But blank shots like on little girls,
Okay, got you.
like bruh. And I'm sitting there like me and my wife we watching. I'm sitting there like, bro, where's y'all parents? They say the parents is on set. Like my mom would have flipped her lid. It wouldn't have been no keep your mouth shut so you gonna ruin his dream. My mom like to hell with his dream. He gonna have another
Yeah.
one. We up out of here.
Yeah. Let me raise this question to you then. Because remember I said this is societal or culture type thing when you say where are the parents? We always can ask that question, but you gotta look at the nature of society and how we do. A lot of times a lot of parents do this. Some parents put their kids in sports for what? Not for the purpose of getting them active or getting
For
them
them, for
involved.
themselves.
It's for them. They push
Mm-hmm.
them kids trying to get them in hopes of getting them to the league, whether it's baseball, basketball, it can be hockey, any of those, any kind of sporting league or even entertainment field. That's why they do that. It's not so that this child, I see the potential in this child. I'm not saying every parent,
Excuse me.
but it's not that they see the potential in their children to go in a direction. They see they see dollar signs. Okay, this my child's talented enough. He can get recognition, like you said, through whether it's through podcasting, because you don't even have to get to Hollywood today. You can start off just like what we're doing, and then opportunity knocks and you take it. But then there's steps to that opportunity.
Just
If you want to get to the next level, you have to let somebody do something to either you or your child. And but the thing is, this is something that's not new. It's just we live in the age now of information,
right.
and everybody got a camera. Everybody has access now. I mean, this stuff was going on back 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever you want to say. There's a lot of Hollywood stories
Yeah.
that
But
date
this
back
jump
in
been
the
going on
50s.
before Hollywood was
Yeah,
invented.
before Hollywood. Yeah, I mean, man, you go back to Rome, go back to
Yeah.
Greece. I mean, it's always been the exploitation in children and with children, women, men. I mean, young men. It doesn't have a boundary because historically it's always it's something that's always been in the shadows. You
Yeah.
know, and a lot of it can be exposed more today than it probably was centuries ago or decades ago because of technology, and then the ability to expose is at your fingertips now. um Man, I mean, it really makes me think. It also thought about my own children, just like you. I got with 4 teenage boys now, and they are homeschooled, so a lot of that school, some of those things they can be exposed to at school, um, that are whether negative or positive, that's something as a parent I've always had to think about. Okay, well, since they're at home, they don't get this exposure with their peers, with peers in
Yeah.
school. But then you turn around and you think about, well, there's situations of bullying, but then again, you try to think about your own. Like, well, we were exposed to bullying or being bullied or other things, and we kind of work through it. And that's always been a cliche thing to talk about, when a thing that's been said. Well, we
Right.
got through it, but then when you think about the mental psyche of yourself. If people look in the mirror and sometimes look at themselves and see where we really are jacked up in our own lives, and whether and our upbringing or things we were exposed to early, how it truly affects us mentally, where we don't even really think about it. We just act, and we wonder why somebody else, whether it be our significant other, or people who we engage with, they kind of look at us or they'll let us know about it, about our own personality traits or issues. And then we have to sit there and, like, some people just need help. We
Yeah.
talked about this the other day. A lot of people just need help. But you was going to say?
Yes. I like I tell my wife like with our kids, I got one boy, and
Mm-hmm.
he's the oldest. So um they're completely different. Like my girls, they're like
Mm-hmm.
me. I say all the time that they project babies at heart. And my wife was a military brat, but me
Mm-hmm.
being in the military, but having like the background of how I grew up, the things I've seen,
Mm-hmm.
jobs I've had, and whatnot. Like I'm quick with it. I've never bullied people, but like if I
Mm-hmm.
rock with you, I cut jokes on you. I clown you. Like I clown people I love. You know what I'm saying? I don't
Yeah.
clown people that I don't know and things like that. So like I be like especially my mother-in-law, they be real. He the first boy in like 27 years and all that. My mama, I be
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, y'all chill, man. Like he's not gold. You know what I'm saying? Everything he
Yeah.
do ain't everything he do not right. So
Yeah.
like my oldest daughter, she's a lot like me. Like she quick with it. You know what I'm saying? You say
Mhm.
something to her, she cutting jokes back, and she'll make you think. You be like, "Dang,
Mhm.
how the little girl 7 years old and can go like that? My wife
Yeah.
can't go like that. My son can't go like that." So, but I think with us, like I think nowadays, man, the reason why a lot of the kids like, and I'm speaking as someone who is a veteran, someone who has
Mm,
PTSD, someone who has mental issues.
mhm.
I feel like so many kids have these issues now because there's not your mental health is like your physical health, your
Mhm.
spiritual health, or anything else. If you're not exercising it,
Mhm.
you're not getting anywhere. You know what I'm saying? See, like with us, we had adversity. Like me and my wife talk all the time, like how she grew up, like the house that we have. She's like, "Oh, I always knew I was gonna have a house like this." When I moved in this house, nigga, I made it. You know what I'm saying? Like growing up, how I grew up, never expecting
Yeah.
to be in something like this. I made
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah.
like we don't have some form of adversity even at home. Like there's
Mhm.
certain things, and like a lot of these kids nowadays, and it's like they try to take parenting away from the parents. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
you're
Mhm.
not supposed to have consequences. Like you see so many videos and stuff now, like teachers. I ain't no way I could be a teacher. I'm not getting swung on by nobody's kids or nothing like that because I'm gonna f up a
Yeah.
parent. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So, but it's just like when I grew up, like you go to school, as long as that teacher ain't touching you or telling you to do
Mhm.
something against what we have taught you here,
Yeah.
you do what they say do. If they say shut up and take the test, shut up and take the test. If you
Take the
supposed to be
test.
quiet, be quiet. You got recess, that's when you go play. When you at lunch,
Mhm.
that's when you can talk. If your teacher say no talking, it's no talking. Like
Yeah.
these kids don't have respect nowadays.
Yeah.
They have
But
no respect, and then they don't have any consequences.
you know what? And it's a balance. I'm gonna be honest. It's a balance to that, in my opinion, man. Because a lot of times we'll ultimately assume, well, it's the parents and they ain't got no structure. But a lot of times the kids and certain youth, they come from two parent households. There's a balance, and it ain't got nothing to do with two or single. And so I'll make sure I let that know, because there's a lot of good kids that come from single parent, whether it be the
Right.
father or the mother. But the point I was making is a lot of times it's assumption that these kids come from broken backgrounds, and that ain't always true. It's just the personality. It may be something else going on with the upbringing, exposure, or if it is something going on at home, it's like you said, with certain students, those who react in a violent manner, it may be something else going on. Sometimes they mentally can't handle the situations that they're dealing with, whether it be in school or their home life, because not everybody has a perfect home life, and then some do. Like, for example, what you just shared with me about the opposites between you and your wife. I'm the exact opposite. I came from a middle class because I grew up on the installation most of my life, because
Right.
my dad, my stepdad, worked in the military. He was military for 24 years. He still worked for the DOD. But I had exposure early. We kind of got out of those situations a little earlier before I could be really infected
Right.
by that kind of life, growing up in the hometown that I was from. And then even after that, when I got out of school and stuff, I went and, but that was one of the situations where I started wilding when I got out of school, even though I grew up in this. I'm talking about from a situation where I didn't necessarily have to grow up in that situation, but going out there and getting out there, being out there in the streets once I got out of school. I left as soon as I graduated. I was on the way out of I left right after I graduated. It
That
was
was
probably about a
my dad rule for the boys.
oh, for
When
real? Okay.
when you turn 18, you gone. And I got a summer birthday. I graduated. I wasn't even
Yeah.
18. I was gone. I was
You know
gone. I
what?
had
And a lot of parents, that's a good question I'm gonna ask you, but I'm gonna get back to this to say this. Like my background, like my wife, she came up harder off the East Coast, streets of
mhm.
New Jersey. So she came up from a different background than I did. So it kind of, you can probably share with the same story. It's kind of like a connection to different cultures. So you kind of work off of it. It has its positives and then it has its negatives, um, because of the mentality.
Right.
She grew up grinding. So I didn't have no silver spoon. I ain't saying I grew up rich. Let me make sure I get that shit straight. But I didn't necessarily grow up hard either. Got out of
Right.
that situation before it got hard because military, we moved around a lot and stuff like that. So it never, I didn't have to worry about where my next meal was from. You can obviously see that, but but it was a situation where there was still different things. I had old school parents though. You know, I had old school parents that didn't play that. It was yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, smacked in the mouth. You know how it is. It is what it is. Um, but to go back to what you were just saying though, man, well, I done lost my train of thought. What was it you just said? Can you repeat what you said so I can respond to that? Because it was something you just mentioned.
About kids.
Yeah.
What I was saying was it's not that they don't have structure. It's like they've taken parenting away from us as parents. Like I tell my kids, like I don't have to beat on my kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
I correct them. So like if I do pop them, I
Mm-hmm.
talk to them afterwards. Like do you know why you got popped? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going crazy and getting a belt or a stick or something like it
Mm-hmm.
was for me when I was a kid. My dad, man, I've considered especially since my dad passed, bro. Probably got to talk to my little sister, see how she would feel about it. But I consider doing YouTube videos of just things my dad used to say, like every Saturday morning, bro, at 7 o'clock. This
Mm-hmm.
nigga was beating the brakes off the boys. Like he was beating the brakes off of us. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? And like
Uh-huh.
as I got older, I'm like, Dad, what you was whooping us for on Saturdays? His
Mm-hmm.
logic was now let me preference this, okay? If
Mm-hmm.
I did something on Monday, I got whooped on Monday. All right.
Mm-hmm.
He said he whooped us on Saturday because it was something through the week that we did that we thought we got away with. I'm like,
Oh,
Dad, that don't make no sense
yeah.
because you whooped us whatever day we got in trouble, anyways.
Yeah.
So I could go the whole week without getting in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still getting that whooping on Saturday. I remember when the first Power Rangers movie came out. I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
go see that first Power Rangers movie so bad. We wasn't a family that had money could go and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Every time he whooped me, my thing was I had to cut the grass. We had an early
Mm-hmm.
release on a Friday. I cut the grass as soon as I got home from school because
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably like eight, nine maybe. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like I'm not getting no whooping. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
doing it. I cut the grass. Saturday morning, wake me up, whooping. Go cut the grass. I say, Dad, I cut the grass yesterday. Cut it again. I had cut the grass again. Bro, my dad didn't play so, but what I was saying is there was some form of adversity that we all grew up with as children that made us
Mm-hmm.
mentally tougher,
Mm-hmm.
is what I was saying. When you take all adversity and all responsibility, at the end of the day, our children, like a quote that I live by when it comes to our children, I'm not responsible for my children. At the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, they are their own people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm responsible to them. I guide them. I tell them. At the end of the day, if I say clean your room, it's up to them if they do it or not. If they do it, they have a good consequence. If they don't, it's a
Mm-hmm.
negative consequence. You have to have and be able to put that responsibility on them, not necessarily early on, but they have to understand responsibility as they get older. We can't take I don't want to have a 30-year-old son calling me like, "Hey, Dad, um, what am I supposed to do with this?" What like you call me for the advice, absolutely, but what did you do first? Like, did you fail
Mm-hmm.
at something? Did you try something first? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not going to be here forever. I can't give you all the answers. Like, you have to try things out, see what
Bump
works.
your head. Yeah.
Because what worked for me might not work for you. Like, it's crazy because I was taking in a baseball practice yesterday, and he was asking me
Mm-hmm.
what sports I played. And I said, well, I only played baseball, basketball, and football. And once I got to a certain age, I stopped getting taller. So I was like, forget basketball because everybody out here blocking shots and stuff and can dunk. I ain't with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And baseball, I had coaches that made me not like it. Once they started talking about taking hits, you
Mm-hmm.
think I'm going to stand here and let you hit me with a 70, 80 mile hour fastball and I'm not rushing the plate or the mound? You crazy. So
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do it. But he wants to
Mm-hmm.
play he wants to try soccer, he wants to try golf. I'm like, all
Mm-hmm.
right, cool. What works for you works for you. And I tell him all the time, be you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think that you have to like everything that daddy likes.
Yeah.
Now I do tell him that he will always play some form of sport
Mm-hmm.
because it makes you it builds some of that mental toughness up. I wanted him to play football because I knew what football did for me.
Mhm.
My dad used to force us to fight.
Mhm.
I didn't want to fight, but I knew if I didn't fight, I knew what was happening when I got home.
Mhm.
You understand? And
Mhm.
again, how we grew up. So I used to tell my dad, like, especially when I was like 15, 16, I'm like, Dad, you raised the boys to either go to the military or to go to jail.
Mhm.
Because like there's really no in between for that. I
Mhm.
wanted to go to college. Colleges would call, he would hang up on it. He going to the military. Bro, I'm not going to the military. I don't want to go to the military. That's what you had to do.
Mhm.
But ultimately, that's where I ended up. But I'm glad that I went when I needed to go because I got to experience college and experience other things. And then I got to a point in life where I was like, man, I'm tired of being around here. Like, I need to go. What's my option? The military was
Mhm.
my option. I don't think that we give our kids enough adversity. Like, we try to withhold, like, keep them from everything, keep them from experiencing things, keep them from having boo boos and things like
Yeah,
that.
bumping
I
their
tell
head. Yeah.
Yeah, but I used to tell my nieces and nephews, like, hey, like I remember my two oldest nephews. One just got out the Air Force,
Mhm.
and the other one he's working, but I mean his potential is still there for him to do so much more. It's just
Mhm.
why you being so lazy, boy. You know what I'm saying? So, but I told both of them, I think they were probably like 15 or 16. I said, hey,
Mhm.
right now your consequences affect your parents. In a few years, your consequences is going to be
Affect you.
sorely yours. They're going to be
Yeah.
only yours. Like if
Yeah.
you do something stupid, you can't call me, you can't call your uncles, you can't call your mom and your daddy, and they can't get you out of it. Like
Yeah.
you're young, make your mistakes, but have enough discipline not to make the life altering mistake. You
Yeah.
understand what I'm
That's
saying?
that's
Don't make that
that's
life altering mistake. And working in a prison, bro, I've seen so many kids. Like I don't even know how we went this way, but you know
it. Just keep it flowing. Yeah,
how
we do.
our
Yeah.
community is,
Yeah.
and like my main homeboys, like
Mhm.
like the dudes that I rock with. I used to have a huge circle when I was younger. Obviously, as you grow and you learn, everybody that's in the circle ain't for you. But like
Mhm.
my my main homeboys, they all already know this. You know that in our community, the real nigga thing,
Mhm.
bro. This is my take on that. If you and me are together and we do something and I get caught, I'm not gonna say nothing.
Yeah.
If you are alone and you do something and they bring me in, I'm not taking that for you. I'm not
Exactly.
taking that for you. Call it snitching, call it whatever you want. But on the flip side of that, if I did something and you got taken in, I would not allow you to take a rap for me. That's a real nigga. I'm that's a real man.
Mhm.
I'm gonna take whatever consequences I have coming to me because I'm gonna stand on whatever decision I make.
10 toes. You gonna
Yeah,
stand
you
10 toes?
understand?
Yeah.
I'm not going to jail. I've been to jail by myself. It ain't fun.
Mhm.
I worked in a jail. I ain't
Mhm.
going back.
Yeah.
If I have to go back, someone has done something to my family, and I'm prepared to go.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? But like,
Yeah. I
I
had
don't understand. Like, we got so many of our community. I'm gonna let you go, Brooke. I've been ranting. My
Mhm.
bad.
No, you good. You good.
But
We both with it.
like, I don't. And you have four boys. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not ever going to be in a situation or put myself in a situation where I'm with someone who I have to do this all the time with. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? I don't need
Yeah.
10, 15 friends. Give me two solid guys. I'm straight. Like my best friend, Berto, bro,
Mhm.
like me and him have never argued. You know what I'm saying? Like we ain't never fell out. We ain't never about to come to blows. It's
Mhm.
always been like I call him if me and my wife are getting into it. He'll be like, bro,
Mhm.
I feel how you feeling, bro. He's like, I understand how you feeling. She shouldn't have did it, but bro, you wrong for this. Like we've
Mhm.
always been accountability partners. When we
Mhm.
first got married, he hit me up, and this is how we were. Hey, bro, your wife hit me on Facebook. I said, what did it say? He said, I ain't even looked at it. I'm just letting you know she wrote me. And like that's how our relationship is. And like I
Mhm.
treat every man that I've come into contact with since I've met Berto, I treat them the
Mhm.
same way. When I see you're not rocking that way, that's cool. You could just stay at an arm's distance. Everybody ain't got
Mm,
to be my homeboy. You know what I'm saying? Everybody ain't
mhm,
got to be my friend. And it's like
mhm.
our community don't understand that. We want to fit in too much. Like, bump that, man. Be you. The people who rock with you, cool. The ones who don't, cool. Everything don't got to be a beef.
Yeah. Well, with my situation, we're having four boys. My oldest one's getting ready to graduate, so we transitioning. We getting ready to go through a transition period, and what I had to learn is some of the ways that I was brought up don't necessarily work. It's one of them situations where you take the best of what you got and you flip it for the time that you in now. And it's one of them situations where when we go back to what you said, where you said your pop said at 18, y'all gotta go. I made that choice. It wasn't like I was pushed
My bad.
out the nest. You know how a lot of fathers tend to do that. With me,
Yeah,
it's not like, for me, it's not like you out, you 18 now, or you graduate, you got to go. It's like, no, you ain't gotta go, but you gonna have to do, we gotta work out something. We gotta do something here. So it's time for you to XYZ, whether it's school, job. We work on the education thing, all of those things. That's kind of how I've been parenting, because I had to learn how to balance that fist. Because for a while, man, I was hard, you know.
yeah,
And you learn that a lot of times that hard stuff, though, like you said, it can make you mentally tough. It can also, everything has a cause and effect. So it'll make you mentally tough in one area, but it also can break your spirit or your psyche in another area.
absolutely,
We Yeah. So
absolutely.
you have to everything is like a balance, man. There's always a balance in life, and that's actually spiritual. Whether you're Christian, Muslim, it doesn't matter what your
Right.
faith area is. A balance is always necessary in life. Balance as a person, as a parent, and if you yourself ain't balanced, those around you will be affected because you mess with their balance.
Yeah.
Especially when you're a parent, especially when you're a father, you're a husband. You can mess with your wife or your children's balance when you're unbalanced. Those are some things I had to learn younger in marriage. And even today, everything is like I discussed with you about learning, man. Learning is like time, man. Learning never stops. People think time is endless and you can never control time. You can't control learning either, whether it's negative or positive. There's always a lesson to learn in life, you
And
know.
the one thing about me, and I didn't notice it until I met my in-laws.
Mm,
Um, all the negative situations I've been in from the time of being, the time of being born. Like, I don't want to make it seem like my childhood was just terrible.
mm-hmm.
Everybody in the projects was living the same childhood, so I didn't know what we
Yeah,
didn't have. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
But like,
exactly.
and like some of the kids didn't have dads. There was times
Hmm.
where I was like, man, I wish I didn't have a dad.
Yeah.
But because I mean, he was a Marine, and
Hmm.
he grew up hard. But those was questions I didn't even think to ask about him
Ask. Hmm.
until I talked to my father-in-law. My dad,
Yeah.
before my dad died, I can probably remember my dad telling me he loved me probably 3 times my whole life, and I'll be 36 this year.
Hmm.
My little sister though, daddy crazy. Like, he did no wrong. But for me, there was a
Hmm.
long time in my life where I hated him because he was
Hmm.
like he was like my bully. I was like, bro, I have a
Hmm.
live-in bully that I can't do nothing against. You know what I'm saying? You tell me all the
Hmm.
time to defend myself and fight back. I can't do it to you. You told us if we ever put our hands on you, you'll kill us in our sleep. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? So, but I caught myself yelling at my son early on in his life. And the
Hmm.
way he reacted, I was like, whoa, come here, come here, come here. And I just
Hmm.
told him, like, you got to understand, sometimes daddy gonna yell. You might not
Hmm.
like when daddy yell, but I don't never want you to be afraid of me. So what I did was to avoid, because they might not have that epiphany that I had to where they ask me questions like, dad, why you
Hmm.
did X, Y, and Z. So since from that day, I email my kids. So I created them an email, and I got to get my
Oh,
will
that's
and
dope.
stuff. I got to get my will and stuff made up. But I'll send them a scripture, I'll send them a quote, but I send them like, make sure you stand on who you are. This is
Hmm.
who you are. Don't you
Hmm.
conform to anybody. Don't let anybody attempt to change you. Learn
Yep.
from your mistakes, but don't be afraid to make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? And when I
Yeah.
was a kid, I wasn't afraid to make mistakes. Now that I have a family and I have people, and this is something that you and I talked about before we even start,
Hmm.
when we talked about finally actually doing this.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to be without.
Mhm.
They don't. I'm
Mhm.
afraid to make those. I'm afraid to take certain risks that could probably benefit us
Mhm.
because what if this happens? You know what I'm saying? Instead of looking
Mhm.
at the dream, it's like I focus on the nightmare part of it. And like my wife tell me like how her and I grew up in survival mode and she didn't. So like
Mhm.
when we was in college, I never experienced spring break. I always had to work because I had my own place. I didn't have an apartment. I didn't have a dorm or
A
anything like
dorm.
that.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So everything that you did on spring break, I did throughout the whole year because I had my
Yeah.
own spot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
always had decent jobs and was smart with my money and made sure I wasn't. I never wanted to live paycheck to paycheck. You know what I'm saying? When you grow up
Yeah.
seeing it, there's things that you don't. So like that's one thing that my father-in-law like kind of brought to my attention is like anytime you've been in a negative situation, you understand. Like I never disrespect my dad, the position of dad. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Just like as supervisor when I was in the military, you got garbage NCOs and garbage
Mhm.
leadership. I'm not gonna
Mhm.
respect the title. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
disrespect the
Disrespect
title.
the
You know what I'm
title, but
saying?
the person with
Yeah,
the
but
title is a
I don't
different
rock with
thing.
the person and how you're doing X, Y,
Yeah.
and Z. So when I
Yeah.
do get that, when I do get there,
Yeah.
this is how I would do it. And that was the thing. I remember being 15,
Mhm.
maybe 16, maybe 16. But me and my dad had got into it, and I told him, I said, man, I don't want you. You ain't never been a dad to me. I don't want you around. Like I don't want you at my graduation when I graduate. Nothing. And I told him I hope I have a son so I can show you what it's like to be a dad. So I
Mhm.
can show you what it's like to be a dad. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But we was two different generations. He made sure we had food. He made sure we had a house, and he made sure the bills was paid. That's kind of all he felt like he's supposed to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He didn't really teach. He didn't really teach me nothing, but he made sure I wasn't afraid of a lot too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it
So
is.
I
I
mean,
mean, it is what it
the way it
is.
is, you take the positives from the negatives. I
Yeah.
mean, I get that because like you just spoke to it, man. It's like a lot of that is generational. It's even attached with
Mm-hmm.
my parents. Like my mom remarried when I was young, married a GI. So I have benefit of actually a stepfather, father,
Yeah.
biological. That's in my life. I kind of when I left from high school, I reconnected. It's kind of like a reconnection thing because there was a lot of that situation, and to be transparent about it. How you hear those stories about the bitter female, the bitter woman in
Mm-hmm.
situations. I was a child in that situation. So, and a lot of people have a lot of stories like this and like yours. Even I talk about mine, like I said, I moved around, but everything wasn't always peaches and cream either. You had
Right.
situations in
Right.
family life and where you were brought up that wasn't necessarily where you thought it should have been as a child, and even looking as an adult. Only thing I say now is you can't let those when you're a child, you can't control that trauma. But when you're an
Right.
adult, it's like you said, it's now your responsibility to deal with it, whether it's getting help, whether it's rectifying and what they call it, intervention, any of that. Man, I done had plenty of talks where I wanted to have talks with my parents about what's going on. And I have had talks, whether it's been my biological father, my stepfather, um, and there's differences of opinions even in those conversations, especially with my biological father and my stepfather. They see the world differently. But then you figure it out, it kind of see the world the same because they cut from the same generation. Their generation before mine is they come from what is the baby boomers. The baby
Mm-hmm.
boomers were the children of the silent generation. So those two generations are pretty much, let's put it this way, if you want to understand, look up those generations and the issues, and you understand who's still running the country today. A lot of the effects of the baby boomers, or the baby boomers, are still running the country. The children of the silent generation. I come from the later Gen X generation, and I don't know, I'm going off on generations, but I'm trying to touch on the psyche and mentality of how we're brought up in each community. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
whether it's a preferably black, white, minority community, or uh, everyone is brought up under an umbrella of what their parents knew, from what their grandparents taught them, from where their great grandparents taught them, and everything wasn't always right. And I had to learn what you said. A lot of parents say this, especially our age, and our parents say it to us, is I did the best I could. And I get it now as a parent, understanding what they mean, what they meant when they said that. But there's also a step further that they need to explain. Yeah, you did the best you could, and I accept that and I appreciate you for you now. But if we're having a real conversation about your best, you did the best you could, but it's also you still want me to accept you and your flaws, but you always pointed out my faults and flaws. I had that kind of situation, and there's still a perfection that you seek out of me. And I had to break that as a parent,
Yeah.
and always looking for the perfection in my children and then their perfection, and not realizing, hey, you didn't grow up perfect and you're still not perfect today. You still got a
Never
lot of
will.
shit
When
broken, you
you're
know
gonna die imperfect.
Yeah. So that's what I meant when I said you got to bring a balance to yourself if you want to understand the balance and help the balance in your loved ones, and your children,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
specifically, and especially having 4 men, man. I ain't gonna lie, as a man, as a father, and with black boys, shit. I'm
They
like,
putting
I'm
you in a
already got
home.
one. Yeah, they
They
already
gonna
got
put you in a home. They gonna
exactly.
take care of mama.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to a home. It's like, man, they're gonna put my ass on the street. But But yeah, they're gonna take care of mama though. But having them, already having one that's making the age, it's already beating those odds that we already know that you have to beat. It doesn't matter what angle of life you come from, whether you came from middle class, wealth, or poverty. When the sirens come on, or when certain groups see you, they don't see me no different than you, or they don't see me no different than someone who grew up with the parents that were millionaires, you know what I'm saying? But they
Yeah.
still at the same shade. It's
And
it's a
that's like
lot of time. Yeah.
that's
But it's
like
a lot of
what go ahead, my bad, my bad.
no, I said it's a lot of times where we need to learn to we try to differentiate that, but you can't really, because the bigger picture is always we are one community, and then you look at, there's always a splinter in those communities. you know Even, let's just talk about the community we know, preferably the black community. There's a splinter there, man. There's always a splinter because, like you said, for example, I give you an example: the no snitching policy, or uh the how we treat women, to how we treat ourselves. It always comes back to us as males, and I'm only going to talk about the male demographic within our community, which I can understand. It's like, man, it's hard to understand, but then I get it with the no snitching at times, with that policy, because on the way what I mean, but I say I get it is, we come from a society and we come from an upbringing where tattletelling, don't tattle, don't talk,
Yeah.
you know. And we talked about it when it came to SA and different situations when it comes to people being, adults touching children. But when you
Yeah.
talk about when we're grown, you know, we teach the exact opposite of what we should do as a society, and
But
it's
it's like
kind of,
that. It's like that from everything, though. It's like that
yeah,
in
no, no, no,
everything.
it's
Like
true, it's
literally
true.
everything. Church, school, parents, everything, everything.
Yeah.
But like for me, obviously, for y'all who think I'm Hispanic or I know what this and all that, I might look Arab. My mama is white. My daddy was black. I'm mixed. But see, like what where we grew up, Wheeling,
Hmm.
West Virginia. It's different now,
Hmm.
but when we were growing up, I remember playing baseball, and it was only two mixed families, us and the
Hmm.
team, the family across the street from us. We were playing
Hmm.
baseball. We went to a Denny's. We
Hmm.
had a tournament. They told my mama she could come eat. They told their mama she could come eat. Everybody else, we can't go in. And I
Hmm.
was born in eight. I was born in '88.
Mm.
I was born in
Oh yeah,
'88.
yeah, 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 yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not. I wasn't born in like the '60s and nothing like that. So
Hmm.
but then when you move around or you meet certain people, oh, well, I don't believe in racism. Well, why don't you believe in it? It didn't happen to me. Well, I've never been murdered, but I believe in murder. I've never been robbed, but I believe in
And,
robbery. You
and
know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
like just because
yeah,
something hasn't happened to you doesn't mean that it does not exist. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And like
yeah.
for us, and I think that was probably my dad's main reason for us as the boys, you being light skinned, and I never we used to always have to keep our hair cut. Like they didn't,
Hmm.
my mom and my dad didn't play that. So like when
Hmm.
we moved to Georgia, that's when the first time I heard what pretty hair was. And but I knew growing up people were not gonna people from both shades, white and
Mhm,
black, wouldn't like me because I've heard the things that my mom's parents, my mom's family said about us.
mhm,
I was 27, bro. My mom sent me a picture. I'm stationed in Fort Drum, New York. My mom sent me a
mhm,
picture around the holidays of three white ladies.
mhm,
I'm like, Mom, who the hell is that? She was like, my mom and my sisters. I'm like, you got sisters? That's how, like, when I tell you, like, they disowned my mama, they
mhm,
disowned my mama. You know what I'm saying? Like,
mhm.
when her mom died, they put my mom's name in a bitch in a, like, what's it called, obituary.
Obituary, yeah.
They put my mom's name. My mom has 5 kids and 14 grandkids, two great
Mhm.
grandkids. All of those names left out.
Left out.
And see, like for mixed kids,
Mhm,
I don't know how it is now. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how it is now, but I know how it was when I was growing up. When
mhm,
and I know the things that I heard. Like we're tainted. You know what I'm saying? Like I
mhm,
tainted a white blood, and my mom's parents were Italian and German.
mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like she was just like running the mill white. She was white that they don't like nothing. You know what I'm saying? They don't like nothing. So like she even told us, like, growing up, especially the boys, like she didn't want us dealing with white girls because, one, the lies and stuff that come with it. If you get
Mhm,
caught, if you get
mhm.
caught, they're going, I did something. It wasn't
Yeah,
consensual or anything like that.
yeah. Mhm,
And then if the girl does have your back and the girl's like, no, this is who I want to be with, now you're gonna make her choose between her family and you. And she never wanted us to do that. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? If I can interject for a minute, man, you really touching on some strong subjects because you hit a subject of what something that don't always get conversed when we talk about it. For example, interracial
Yeah.
relationships, and we often I talked to my wife about this. A lot of times, a lot of us in our community speak from a bubble. We only speak from the area and the bubble that we're in, and we don't understand the dynamic from the other side because we don't want to. And
Right.
it's a lot of times it's one community pointing a finger back at the other community. You don't listen to me. You don't understand. Well, you don't listen to me. You don't understand. And there's never anything that ever comes from it other than more arguing, more frustration, more fighting, infighting, and division. And it's really fucked up because when you were telling me the story, it made me think, especially when you just said your mom, who is a white woman, told you, who is a biracial mixed man, black, because you're gonna it doesn't, like I said, when the sirens come on, they
I'm
don't
black.
see
Yeah. I've been
exactly
black my
when the
whole life.
siren exactly, it don't matter. But
Hmm.
she told you, because of the lessons she learned and understood, she told you. Now think about hearing that. Now me, who have two black parents, but you hearing it from this perspective of a white woman telling her son, who's mixed, n- not to mess with this specific group for these specific reasons. That hits different than having, for say, my black mother telling me
Yeah.
or my black father telling me. That hits a hell of a lot different. Wait a minute. This is a white woman telling you, because it's like she's telling you from an insider, from an insider's perspective. This is what goes on, and then she had to bear the brunt. And I know that, historically, knowing these situations, that is often too often they either get disowned. If they don't want to get disowned, then they'll lie and they'll
Hmm.
say it was grape or SA or something like that. Or you have a situation like you said, growing up in '88 and realizing, that sundown towns still existed, and they still exist today.
Yeah.
Sundown
Yeah.
towns, and you talking about it being '88, man, that don't mean nothing, because it was those things were still going on. Remember what I was talking about? Technology brought exposure, and you're able to exposure because it's at your
Yeah.
fingertips now. That stuff wasn't like that back then. But I say that to say this, man. I appreciate you sharing that, because it actually educated me on something that I thought I knew, I did know, but just hearing that from that perspective of what your mother told you. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
never really thought about it that way in depth. You know, when you hear someone's parent who happens to be of this community telling their child and giving them warnings about, yo, this is what happens in our community and it ain't right. Lies will be told, stories will be altered to protect. the quote unquote innocent. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then the real innocent gets burned or blamed, and it's too many stories. But it's
Way
stories
too
on
many.
both sides. Yeah, it's too many
Right, right.
stories on that side. It's too many stories on both sides. Because I talk about it. We talk about it from the black community. It's a lot of different perspectives of that too, especially today with things that go on. But man, I'm enjoying this conversation, man, because it's
Me too.
just
I was just
100.
looking
It's
like, shoot,
100.
this
Yeah,
might be a video
this
in
it.
its own.
This
But
it, man.
but
This is 100. This is being
but
100 right here.
and that's the thing. Like when you grow up, depending on how you grow up, where you grow up, things like that.
Hmm.
Obviously, like your demographics is different. Like so,
Hmm.
I don't be closed minded and think all white people think like how my mom's family thought, and
Uh-huh.
I'll never call them like my family because I don't know
Hmm.
y'all. You know what I'm saying? And like
Yeah.
I remember probably being I might have been 16 because I could drive, maybe 15. But
Hmm.
I used to have a dog. I had a pit bull, and it
Hmm.
used to dig up the yard all the time. So my dad got rid of it. But it was great with us, great with the my nieces and nephews when they were babies or whatever. And
Hmm.
so I came home and I seen this car in the driveway,
Hmm.
and I'm like, now we in Georgia now, all right. So we're in
Hmm.
Georgia now. I'm like, dang, who car that is? And then as I'm walking up to the door, I hear barking. It sounds like small dogs. I'm thinking puppies. So I'm
Hmm.
like, dang, I don't know why the hell I thought this. My mom and daddy was not finna surprise us with nothing. We ain't getting it wasn't it's not what they do. You know what I'm saying? So uh so I walk in, I walk in, and it's two little, I don't know what kind of ugly dogs they was. I was like, man, and it's two old white people sitting on the couch.
Hmm.
So I obviously for my family's privacy, I ain't saying no names, but
Yeah.
I walk in. My oldest brother is 12 years older than me. I believe I'm 12 years older than his oldest son.
Hmm.
I walk in and it's my mom's mom and my mom's dad.
Hmm.
So we had a rival football game, the inner city rival football game coming up. And like she had called me during school and was like, could I get some more tickets? Because I was on the football team, we could get tickets. And I was like, yeah, most likely. So when I get there, now I see who she want the tickets for.
Hmm.
So when I walk in, they call me my nephew's name.
Hmm.
And I'm like, no, my name's Davian. And they was like, oh, you look just like, and I'm like, no. So like my mom was like, can you get tickets? And I was like, no. And she was like, well, my mom and my dad, I was like, I can't get them. My bad. It's a big game. So I go
Hmm.
to the back. I go to, my room was a garage. So I go to my room and I start packing up some clothes. My mom was like, where you going? I was like, I'm going to my homeboy house. She was like, how long you going to be there? And I was like, how long they going to be here? So she stepped outside with me. And she was like, you don't need to be like that, this and that. And I'm like, Mom, I'm not being hateful or nothing. They
Hmm.
never wanted anything to do with us. And now that they're getting up there in age,
Hmm.
you don't owe me anything. And the crazy thing is, they might not have had the craziest, like they might not have been the wealthiest, but they had funds. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like we grew up really hard. Like I watched my mom and them struggle. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Hmm.
Like and saw things as a kid that kids nowadays might laugh at because they don't
Hmm.
understand. But like how I grew up, I guess always being on survival mode, I was more mature. Like I understood things. You know what I'm saying? So like if
Hmm.
I saw in the laundry, like put when we're folding up clothes, if I saw where like my dad or my mom might have some holes in their clothes, I
Hmm.
never questioned like, Mom, why you don't buy yourself this? Because she got to make sure we got.
Yeah.
And like I'm like that now as a dad. Like
Hmm.
my closet, I have very minimal clothes. Like my wife be trying to buy me like good clothes. I tell her somebody break in, they can take every bit. If they take my gym shorts and my athletic clothes, I am going
Hmm.
to lose my
Lose
mind.
my mind. Yeah.
I will lose
I,
my mind.
I get you. Because my wife I got forced to go out this past Sunday to go get something. Cause she's like, you need to buy this. You need to go get you this. Cause
Yeah.
I'm steady losing weight, man.
Mm-hmm.
Doing all the going through these processes and stuff. And I won't do it because I'm like, she keeps looking at my jeans, and now, man, I done lost two
I pull
jean
that.
sizes.
I pull that belt real tight.
Yep,
Yep. I
yep.
can still
I don't.
get in them.
Yep, I done lost. I'm down to down two jean sizes in about a month now.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah, I dropped down a lot, and I'm like, I'm looking at my sister. See, I told you, when you start working out, you start doing things and changing your habits and stuff. This is gonna happen. And I'm like, yeah, I see. Um, Still trying to deal with it when you see yourself and stuff, but getting back really before we close out, man, because we already on the hour on this one. We did good with this one.
We can go
Man,
ahead and touch this. We can touch those quick questions if you want. Go
Sneeze.
ahead and knock
Yeah,
them out.
but
Yeah,
I'm gonna close out and then we'll get into this quick football talk real keep because it was short anyway.
yeah,
I say it to say this, man. With our community, we have to go back and look at when we talked about the society and our system structures, which is the medical field, the school system, our food, and then our police and banking.
yeah.
Those structures. None of those structures in our society are correct. They're not balanced. So that's why you see so much imbalance in our communities. Um, and as parents, just to close on this, to us as parents, we need to really look at ourselves and evaluate who we are and our upbringing and deal with it. I would say that deal with you know, because you don't want to be that person when you're in your 60s, if you make it to your 70s, 80s, 90s, and you always sense this resentment from your children,
The hardest
because of
part,
the way
the
you brought.
hardest. Go ahead, my bad, bro.
Go ahead. No, it's just because of the way you didn't fix you didn't work on you, so you then in turn fucked up your children. And I'm just gonna be honest about it.
The last thing I'm gonna say on it to to the parents, or it's not even necessarily parents. The hardest
Hmm.
conversation to have on this planet is the honest one with the man or the woman in the mirror.
In the mirror. Hmm.
Be honest with yourself. Life every life happens. There's stuff that
Yeah.
happens to everybody, and you can't control it. All only thing you can control is how you respond to it, how you overcome it, and
Hmm.
don't let it beat you. Don't let it destroy you. Like I was saying, like for my kids, I created them all email addresses in my
Hmm.
will. I'm leaving them the email address and their
Hmm.
passwords to it, and I've just been emailing them. I mean, I haven't emailed them in a while, but I've been
Hmm.
emailing them since they were babies.
Hmm.
And any new information that I get, I let them know.
Yep.
Life insurance, all these different things that we weren't taught, things that we don't know. As I learn it, I leave it to them in emails. That way, if my son's like, Daddy, or if he never reaches the point of saying, Daddy, how come you was harder on me than you was the girls?
Hmm.
It's in the email. It's in my own words to him. If you ever felt like this, but I also talk
Hmm.
to him too.
Talk to him. Yeah.
Also talk to him too. Son,
Yeah.
you a boy. Life gonna be different. Life gonna be different for you than it is your sisters.
Yeah.
Something happened to me. It's gonna be a lot laid at your feet.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a lot laid at your feet. So y'all had them hard conversations with yourself, man. Self
Yeah.
reflect.
Yep, self-reflection is key. Well, we'll transition real quick and keep it real short. Legarius Sneed, defensive back. You was hoping that the Colts could get. He ends up with the Titans, man. In a trade. I don't remember the picks that the Chiefs received for it, but
A
I
third
mean,
round pick next
a
year.
third round pick next year. They trade him for milk and cookies, basically. Um,
Titans stole him,
uh,
man.
yeah, they basically robbed the Chiefs without no guns. So the Chiefs must be confident in something. Um,
Yeah.
Makes you wonder where they're gonna go in the first round now. You know, it's kind of
What
like
and it's
Wesley Snipes. Cancel this bitch, I get a new one. So
and there are still players out there too. Like
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if within the next couple of weeks, leading up to the draft, or maybe after the draft, they signed Xavier Howard from the Dolphins, and
yeah,
you
mhm,
know, there's still some decent corners out there to
in
replace
the
Snead, but
market.
they were deep. They were deep in that class. But I
Hmm.
to let him go for a third round pick next year, and I think they might have swapped 6 round picks.
Yeah.
I just knew they was going to get something. But when you couple it with he was at the end of his contract, he wanted to be paid. I
Hmm.
understand it, but I just thought they would be able to get something this year because this is a deep draft. So,
Yeah.
but well, I guess you got Andy Reid and you got 1-5. We'll make it work.
We'll make it work. We were
We'll make
winning
it work.
before him. We was doing this before he blew up. We gonna continue doing it. That's the way they see it. Was something else you wanted to add about
Two things. Two things.
Jones? Yeah, two things. Yeah,
I
you was
wanted to
talking
ask.
to me about offline.
I wanted to ask you about what your thoughts were on the Justin Fields Russ situation where Tomlin came out and said that Russ would be the starter, Justin would start as the backup, and they would
Mhm,
tell Justin, when it's time for him to compete for the job, they'll let
mhm.
him compete.
You know what? To be honest, you could easily have mixed feelings and try to put yourself in Justin's shoes. But I look at this as I looked at it from the beginning. This is an opportunity for a real reset for Justin. He's still young. He's not even in his prime yet. Uh, at the most, he probably sits a year, maybe just this season, season and a half. Who knows? Because injuries can happen.
Mm-hmm.
But he's in the right organization to develop to get the development he didn't get coming into the league. He already has, even though, and we're looking at Pittsburgh that still needs skill position players, but he has more talent now than he had at his time in Chicago. So
Mm-hmm.
when I look at it as, man, I know I would be frustrated because I went from starter to backup, and now I'm going to be looked at, and you already got the national media and certain pundits painting me like a backup, and like people want to look at me as washed and all of this. No, I look at it as a chance to be developed and
Yeah,
really
that's how I
get
look at it.
into a right program. I mean, that remember I told you about something about learning. It's something with negatives and positives that Russ got. There's something there that Fields can get from him. Um, even what's the name? Even Rogers learned something from Brett Favre.
Right.
Love learned something from Aaron Rodgers, and we both know that Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers aren't necessarily your best people.
Right.
They're some nasty motherfuckers. Let's just put it that way.
Phenomenal quarterback, but
Yeah, but
people.
nasty individuals as people.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. There's something that can be learned there on the field. So I think that Fields, if he allows himself to be a sponge, and if Russ can at least open up a little bit and teach him the intricacies of being a veteran quarterback, just the mentality. We ain't talking about the talent, arm talent or athleticism. We're talking about just the mentality, what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I look at, and it's also a situation I see with Bryce Young in Carolina. Fields was on the verge of being a broken quarterback. You can see it in the interviews a lot of times. You put somebody in that situation young and you throw them to the wolves. you know, I don't think his psyche is broken, but I think if he didn't get out of that situation, it could have gotten bad for him. So I actually think it's a positive for him to sit at the minimum a year, maybe a year and a half. We never know, but he's in the right organization. It's the right and perfect fit for him to sit and develop. He has the right
I
coaches around him and owners.
I definitely think the same. I definitely
Hmm.
think the same. I think if he handles this, and one thing that does not get talked about enough when it came to Justin Fields,
Hmm.
he was an extremely good professional with handling of these situations.
Yeah,
Look what Kyler Murray did.
yeah,
Removed
broke it.
Arizona from all of his
Yep.
stuff and and, and,
Hmm.
and all this stuff. But look what happened to Mac Jones. Mac Jones was a Pro Bowl as a rookie, and now he's a
Hmm.
backup. And I don't think he'll ever be a
I
starter
started
again,
again. Yeah,
barring injury. Justin
yeah.
Fields. When you look at that draft, and I know a lot of people are going to try to discredit Justin Fields.
Hmm.
They say Trevor Lawrence was the best quarterback in that draft. Watch when Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence played each other.
Yeah.
Justin Fields was the best quarterback on that team on that field.
Hmm.
If Sean Wade doesn't get ejected for that freaking helmet hit on that targeting hit
Hmm.
when he blitzed on
Hmm.
Trevor Lawrence, I think Ohio State would have won that game. I think Ohio State would have won that game. Justin is a good athlete. Justin's a good quarterback. He'll have a package, so he'll be able to touch the field. You know what I'm saying? So it's not going to necessarily be to just sit down completely. He'll have a
Hmm.
package, and he'll still be able to showcase what he can do.
Hmm.
I honestly believe that. But now it's he has the ability to learn from a Pro Bowl quarterback, a Super Bowl winning quarterback, on how to just be a professional quarterback, how to go about making sure your body's healthy, how to make sure
Hmm.
you watch, how to learn how to watch film and all that. Justin never, like you said, he never had anything stable. Never had
Yeah.
anything stable. So I like his situation. The last thing we was gonna talk about was your Dallas
Hmm.
Cowboys. Jerry Jones and what your thoughts were at the end of the season. I'm gonna give you three quotes from Jerry Jones. At the end of the season, Jerry
Mhm.
Jones said, "We will go as far as Dak Prescott can take us, and we went as far as Dak Prescott could take us." Then he said in February, "We're going all in."
Mhm.
Now in March, he said that there's a few quarterbacks who haven't won Super Bowls who he thinks can win Super Bowls. And he believed Dak Prescott is one of them, all while not extending Dak and resetting the market. What's your thoughts on Jerry Jones and your Cowboys and Dak?
Okay, I'll start with Jerry Jones. I'm at the point I probably anger some Cowboy fans. I probably have some Cowboy fans in my corner. I think Jerry Jones is full of shit. Jerry Jones bounces back and forth. That's just that what you said. It just shows inconsistency in his language. So I get it though, because it's kind of like trying to keep a curveball. You don't want everybody to be knowing your move, your next move. But you got Dak, and remember they traded for Trey Lance last year. You know,
Right.
uh, from the FSU side, there's been some talks of what's the name circling around in Dallas. They've had some interviews with him. I don't know if they'll be drafted or not, but Jordan
Who's
Travis's name,
that?
Jordan
Travis.
Travis,
Okay.
yeah,
Mm,
and that name is circulated, as a possibility, in the mid rounds, between the fourth and fifth round, sixth round. I don't think we have a fourth round pick. I'm not sure. I know we got a 1, 2, and a 3, and then I think we got a 5. Um, that would be a spot that he probably, unless they move up. I don't know. I'm just saying that's what some of the rumors and talking heads have said, because I've also heard Pittsburgh at the time, and that was before they made the Phillips decision.
gotcha.
Um, but as far as Jerry's always been consistent. I mean, I get it now. The only times he's had structural, they've drafted well. I won't sit here and say Dallas has drafted well over the
They
time.
always
They
do.
just don't,
They
yeah,
seem
they
like they
draft
always
well.
do.
They just don't go and get the free agents that probably would put them over the top. So I'm not going to sit here and say Jerry's totally out of it, because it's not like every draft pick that he's ever selected has been trash. And that's not true. He's
Right.
always pretty much been consistent, found somebody that can contribute. The Dak situation, I don't think Dak necessarily has the mentality to carry us over there. Dak is just like Danny White. Dak is like Tony Romo. You understand what I'm saying? Dak would be Troy Aikman without the defense, offensive line, and Emmitt Smith. And that's not knocking Troy, because Troy was definitely best quarterback that Dallas has had, other than Roger Staubach
Staubach.
or yeah, Staubach or Don Meredith. You know what I'm saying? Those kind of situations. But getting into that, I don't think Dak had, and it's become he's not flamboyant. I won't say that is the word, but it's like, it's obviously he's a quarterback that kind of cripples under the pressure.
Yeah.
You know, he cripples under the pressure, and the pressure isn't the regular season pressure. That's not pressure to him. Dak can answer those questions. But when we get to the postseason, that's when that monkey gets bigger. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so far, by the evidence, but it ain't just him. That's why you have to look at it as an organizational problem, because Romo had the same issues. We seeing the same thing. It's like wash, rinse, and repeat. Put up the numbers, tear it up in the regular season, maybe win one playoff game. But when you go up against that team other than you crumble. You crumble. And then you not only you crumble, you look like completely outclassed.
Out
And that's
completely.
what, yeah, outclassed. It's not like it's a tight, enjoyable, memorable game that we'll see on NFL Network, or the highlights and people remember. No, it's the shit like what happened in Green Bay. It's the shit where the San Francisco 49ers literally physically, an NFL pro team physically pushed you around like you a damn college or high school team. I don't like it. I can't, and it's like, I'm a real Cowboys fan. I am a Cowboys fan, but I'm a realist.
Right.
Either Jerry, something has to go. Jerry has to make the decision, if it's not to re-sign Dak and to just rebuild, or find a bridge, move in another direction. But it can't stay this way, or all you're gonna do is wash, rinse, and repeat. You're gonna go from Romo to Dak, and then you're sitting here hoping to go from Dak to somebody else to have the same damn situation happen again. because the
Same situation.
mentality is soft. It's a soft mentality. It's not an organization that's run hard nails. There's no iron and nails here. It's all fluff, glamour, and there's no nastiness to the team's mentality. That's what I mean when I said it's not. They're not a. They don't have an identity of being a nasty kind of mindset. Tough. So the mental toughness is
The
not there.
Ravens,
Yeah, the Ravens, the 49ers, when it
the
comes to mentally
Steelers.
tough, the
Yeah.
Steelers. Yeah. And I mean, think about it. Those Cowboy teams, Jimmy Johnson built those Cowboy teams in that image. Nothing
Hmm.
tough, physical, but they were able to balance the flamboyant because you had somebody like Irvin who brought the flamboyancy to the team, but yet there was still a blue collar mentality with the
He
running game,
had
the line. Yeah,
Irvin had the flamboyancy
yeah,
outside of football.
yeah.
When he stepped in between them lines, he was
No,
a dog
it
and he
was
was
blue
trying to
collar.
dominate.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
yeah,
was a
it was
dog. He was
blue
trying to
collar
dominate.
mentality. Yeah,
And
and
that's
I think that's the problem with Dallas. They're not built
yeah,
in a blue collar image. They're built in a
at
glitz and
all,
glamour image. And to
at
be
all.
honest with you, I don't know much about those I know from Texas, but I'm pretty sure I've come in contact with Texas folks. Ain't a lot of it. Ain't no glitz and glamour that way. It's a blue collar mentality in that state. So I don't understand why the organization don't take on the nature of its environment. To answer your question, like I said, Jerry's full of shit, and I don't think Dak has the mentality, the blue collar mentality, to push them over the hump. And you just all you're doing is burning up contracts and burning up people's prime years.
And that's what I was gonna say about that is I don't think I don't think the Cowboys are a true stable organization football wise.
Yeah.
Football wise, I know Jerry is a great businessman and he's done built the most lucrative and expensive sports team and they worth all this money and this and that. Like, what other sports team hasn't won something in almost 30 years and stock is still rising on it? You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
if it was, and the crazy thing is, if I'm not mistaken, when they restructured Dak's deal, they dropped his cap hit from 59 to 55 this year, but they
Hmm.
added 2 voidable years. So
Hmm.
if he's not on the team next year, I think it's like 40 something $1 million cap hit. So like
Hmm.
you really kind of pigeonholed yourself when you have to sign CD, you have to sign Micah, and they're both going to want to reset the market.
Yeah. Exactly.
They're both going to want to reset the market. So it's like I didn't think about the Jordan Travis pick. That's actually pretty intriguing for me, for real, for real. Like, look, I want to
Yeah.
look into that more because it could end up being like a Dak story.
Now, like I said, it's I've heard that through secondary information. It
Right.
wasn't ain't no exclusive. I ain't breaking nothing here. There may not be nothing from it. I just said I've heard some rumors
Yeah.
that there were interviews, and that is
And
that is a fact. Other teams
he played
interviewed him,
well
and
before the
Dallas was one
injury.
of them. Yeah,
Yeah, he played well
Dallas is
before
one
the
of the teams
injury.
that
So
interviewed him. So
yeah.
he could be a possibility of somebody that they could get, allow him to sit, develop him for the professional league. At the most, he can hold a clipboard. Second backup or what's like
Make
that. I
sure he's
mean,
healthy.
yeah, it's an opportunity. I
Hmm.
mean, it's an opportunity. He still has opportunities, even though the injury happened. Oh, it's one more
Big
thing before we
time.
close out. When you mentioned I wanted to
Okay.
mention this. It's the 2014, I mean the 2018 uh, recruiting class, and I'm looking at the top 20 players in that class. Right, the class of 2018. Trevor Lawrence was the number one player. Justin Fields was the number two player. Xavier Thomas was the number four. I'm only mentioning certain names because Xavier Thomas is
Right.
just now going to be in this draft.
Right.
But Fields, you see what I'm saying? Because of COVID. The number five player in the
Hmm.
country was Michael Parsons. Uh, let's see, Nicholas Piet Friere. I think he's in the league now from out of Ohio State, an offensive lineman.
Yeah. He for the
Uh-huh.
Titans, right tackle for
Yep.
the Titans.
Number 10 player in the country, Amon Ross St. Brown.
Amon Ra St.
Uh-huh. Number 11, Patrick Surtain. Number 12, Tyson Campbell. Number 13, Zamir White. Uh, Let's see some names I know off the bat here. Number 19 player. I skipped through a few. Jamar Chase, number 19 player in the country. Let's see,
Dang.
yeah. I'm just gonna mention the top 30 players in that class, and I'm gonna leave it at that. Here's another player, DeMarvion Overshown. He was just drafted last year by Dallas. He was the number
To
28
Texas,
player in that
yeah, from
class.
Texas.
Yeah, uh-huh. And here's another player. I stop at 31. Quay Walker, number 31 player in that class.
Packers
Green Bay.
linebacker.
Yep. Uh-huh. I just do that because as I was looking at the list, but I was only starting with the number one and number two players because you mentioned it. I was like, those two quarterbacks are forever joined at the hip because they've been
Forever.
joined at the hip since high school. They were the top
Yep.
two quarterbacks in the country. So they'll and from the same state. So they'll forever be joined at the hip on their performance. And right now it looks like Justin is on looking downward, because you're already not on the team that drafted you. So it's automatically going to reflect on him, reflect on him. But I was just saying what I said about Pittsburgh because it's like it's not his story is not done. I think his story is about to start now. To be honest,
Ab-
I think he actually ducked a bullet. He dodged a bullet here, and he only lost what 3 years of his career.
That's it. Yep. And the thing is, he was able to still put something on film where
Yep.
there's a team like, you know what, he can
Hmm.
do this. We can develop
Hmm.
that. And
Yeah, it's
to be honest
something
with
there.
you, to be honest with you, if if Jacksonville had the number one pick, do you think they would move on from Trevor Lawrence? I
You
wouldn't
know
pay
what?
him.
I wouldn't be surprised. Uh, I wouldn't question. I wouldn't be surprised if it
Yeah,
happened
because we're
because
talking.
they haven't
We're
seen the
talking.
growth
Go ahead.
that they haven't seen the growth. They've seen some growth. They did make a playoff under him. They've been competitive, but he still has now. They're looking for him to be that take that next step, and it doesn't look like he's taking that step to join the Burrows and
Mm-hmm.
the Mahomeses and the Lamar Jacksons yet. He's still on the fringe.
And to be honest, the only reason Justin Fields is no longer a Chicago Bear is because that trade last year with the Panthers gave them the number one pick in this year's draft.
Yeah,
If they had the ninth overall pick, Justin Fields would still be a Chicago Bear.
true.
Just like Trevor Lawrence is still a
Still
Jacksonville
a
Jaguar.
Jacksonville
That's just
Jaguar.
in my opinion.
That's my
If
opinion.
Because you gotta think he's gonna be next up for a contract. He's a quarterback. For
Hmm.
some reason, that's the only position that always breaks the freaking market every time somebody signs.
Hmm.
Trevor has honestly done very little. And in that playoff game that they won, he almost lost it in the first quarter, in the first half with 4 interceptions.
Yeah,
Like he's not. I know a lot of people try to say he's like Peyton Manning 2.0. He's not a transcendent player in the NFL.
no,
Like he's not making everyone around him better. And he's had a solid team. He's had a solid cast of
yeah,
players around him, and he's been in a weak division.
good
The
enough to win.
Texans,
Yeah, yeah, they
the
should have been winning
Texans,
that
the
division.
Titans,
Yeah,
the Titans only had Derrick Henry. The
yeah,
Texans didn't have a bunch of nothing. How many coaches that they reset the coaching market just about every year before D'Amico Ryans? And
yeah,
the Colts, we never had a solid quarterback.
yeah.
You know,
Jacksonville
we
should have
we
been
always
one.
had
Yeah, they should
Jacksonville
be
should have
running
been a
that. They should be
perennial.
running that. Yeah, winning that division every year since he's
They
been
should
there. Yeah,
since he's been there. Yep,
yeah,
since he's been there. And
yeah.
but I was last thing when it comes to quarterbacks because I know we're gonna actually I'll drop it when we talk about when we do our mock draft.
Okay.
I'll do it when we do
Well,
our mock draft. I'm through.
we like to thank everybody to make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you tune into D's corner. I'm sorry, D's corner. Be on the lookout for no nonsense. For my FSU fans who watch, I'll still be working on D's future recruit talk. We really appreciate everyone. We kind of touched on some different subjects. We really let's talk about it is the name of the show.
Let's
We
talk
talk
about it.
about different subjects. It ain't just NFL. We'll touch on here subjects here and there when we see some issues come about that there's some concerning things. But we really do appreciate everyone for tuning in. We thank you and see you later. Peace out.
Okay.